The European Union is in a survival crisis. At least that's what the President of the EU Council said, and he ought to know. At the heart of it are fears for the future of the Eurozone as the debt contagion, which first afflicted Greece, continues to spread. My guest today is the President of Slovenia, Danilo Tuerk. His country joined the Eurozone in 2007. Back then, it seemed to offer long-term economic security to one of the EU's smallest nations. But what about now? President Danilo Tuerk, welcome to Hard Talk.
My pleasure.
The Eurozone is facing a fundamental crisis of confidence. This isn't what you signed up to when you joined the Euro 4 years ago, is it?
Certainly not. When we became member of the Eurozone, we expected that to be a long-term layer of protection and a stable framework for our development. We haven't expected this kind of difficulties, but we are coping.
Haven't expected it. What do you think has gone wrong?
Well, I think that the fiscal discipline is one thing that went wrong. There was too little fiscal discipline in some of the Eurozone countries, and that has led to some problems. And then there is another problem which hasn't really been addressed so far, and that is the lending policies of major banks in Europe, which have added to the problem, and that also needs to be addressed.
I wonder if it sits easily with you now, being head of state, president of a country which, let's face it, and let's be polite about it, is a very small nation within the European Union and does not carry a great deal of clout. And there you sit in the Eurozone, having to be part of a decision-making process, bailing out countries, which is going to cost you and your compatriots an awful lot of money. How do you feel about that?
Well, I feel two aspects of this situation. One is we would like to be a responsible European citizen. That means that we are part of a system and we behave responsibly within that system. On the other hand, it's really, as you say, difficult to explain to the citizens how to show solidarity in a situation which is not created by a natural disaster or by some objective calamity, but really comes as a result of transgressions. So that's a difficulty, and there we have to do some political explaining.
Because, as I understand it, Slovenia has to put out there at least 200 million euros of loan guarantees for the Irish bailout. We may be looking at a Portuguese bailout. We may even be looking at some point in the future at a Spanish bailout. At some point, the Slovenian people, you're a very small country, they're simply going to say, no, we can't afford it.
Well, look, we hope that this process will be stopped. And now we have the new European Financial Stability Facility, a fund which allows the Irish problem to be addressed rather quickly. Whether that would suffice or not is not entirely clear, but certainly we're in a better position now than we were in June.
I feel in the answers you've already given me a sense of discontent, a desire to blame. You talked about transgressions. What should happen, in your view, to the transgressors?
Well, that's a good question. And of course, it has to be understood and answered in economic sense. And I think that...
Well, this isn't just economics, it's politics. You're all members of the Eurozone, you're all members of the European Union. Do you think some of these people do not deserve to be in the Eurozone?
Well, look, the answers are economic. I mean, the problem has a political dimension, and I, as president, feel that political dimension. But I also know that there have to be a real economic answer. I think that Greece is now doing well with its austerity program and that it is gaining credibility. And once that credibility is established, I think economic health can be the answer to your question.
Yeah, but economics and politics go together.
Correct.
When the Greek crisis was playing out in May, you said this to Bloomberg News. You said, we cannot have the sort of budget deficits that we've seen. We cannot have cooked statistical data. We have to have serious economies inside the Eurozone. You're suggesting, I think, that non-serious economies, and you may put the Greek and the Irish economies in that category, should not be in the Eurozone.
Well, what I was saying was, I believe today, equally as I did in May, I think that economies have to be made serious if they are not serious at a given moment. That's one thing, and I believe that the mechanisms which were established in the European Union are part of the answer. And secondly, on Ireland, one has to understand that large part of that problem results from the markets, from the banks, not so much from the public spending.
The political fallout continues, not least because, as I discovered when I interviewed the Greek Prime Minister, Mr. Papandreou, on HardTalk just a few days ago, there are real fault lines now between some of the southern nations, deeply indebted like Greece, and, for example, Germany. Mr. Papandreou is furious with the Germans for suggesting that in future, when seriously indebted countries go through a process like Greece and Ireland are going through now, the creditors, that is the banks, the lenders, have to take, quote-unquote, a haircut. There will be a punishment for those who lent irresponsibly.
1986. So European Union has a history of turning a crisis into opportunity, and I would like that experience not to be forgotten.
One influential economist, Graham Turner, here in the UK, has talked seriously about the possibility of Germany pulling out of the Eurozone, taking with it the stronger, more disciplined, frankly, sounder European economies with it. That might be, at the moment, Austria, the Netherlands, a few other countries too. And in a sense, going back to a Deutschmark sort of bloc. The Eurozone will continue to exist, perhaps for your country and many others that aren't in as strong a position as the Germans. Would Slovenia and your public accept that if that were to happen?
Well, you see, we have accepted euro 3 years ago, and by now we have internalized euro as our currency already. So I think we are going to stick with euro, and we hope to be among those who are able to prove their discipline and seriousness.
Do you
what that means, we'll have to see.
Quite. It's going to be complex. But do you sometimes wish that you, like